Greetings and welcome back. We are here for another crash course. I am Brandon Jones, psychotherapist, professor, and author, and I want to welcome the Comedic Wisdom School family to the crash course on self-awareness. It is very common that in this world of actually not just in the world, in society, we look at spiritual groups, religious groups, they all have their own version of what we know as know thyself. Self-awareness is very vital for us to move forward, for us to develop and grow as people. But if you're not understanding yourself, if you're not understanding your culture, if you're not understanding your environments, things become a struggle. But that self-awareness is key because a lot of people, especially in today's time, they get lost in who they are or who they think that they should be because they're not comfortable or they don't feel like they have enough control with who they already are. So we're going to look at self-awareness and the need for self-awareness and why it's important. So we're just going to talk about a couple self-awareness strategies. It's just a quick crash course for us to just kind of engage in this idea. So let's get into it. What is self-awareness? What is it? So, self-awareness is the ability to understand your emotions and their effects on your performance. Your performance meaning who you are, how you are, what you're doing, why you're doing it, your actions, your behaviors. That's what we mean by your performance. Your sense, or you sense how others see you, and so align your self-image with a larger reality. Again, we are communal people. We are social beings. Our self-esteem, our self-worth, and our sense of our not just our sense of ourselves, but our understandings of ourselves definitely have a social context to it. Even if you are one of those rugged individuals who's like, I don't care what nobody does, I'm always gonna be me. Well, yeah, you can be you, but it's in a context of a social situation or social context. So other people and the people around us definitely have an impact on our self-image and our self-esteem. So it's important that we have the coping skills and the life skills to manage how we see ourselves, because that's how people easily get lost into what other people want us to be, or how other people feel like we should be, or what we should know, or how we should know things. And that's a big struggle for us. So self-awareness is our ability to understand your own emotions and their effects on your performance. Let's look at three keys, right? Let's look at three keys to self-awareness. We're going to go through these quick, just a quick crash course. We're not going to go too deep today, but it's just something to get your appetite wet. Comedic Wisdom School, are you ready? Let's get it. The first thing, this is so critical and funny because a lot of people struggle with this. The first thing is slowing down. Pump them brakes. Pump them brakes. Many of us do not slow down. We live in a society that's so go, go, go. So microwave, everything's quick, gratification. Everything's moving. When I was younger, we used to play Sega, and there was a Sega game called Sonic the Hedgehog. Some of you may be familiar with Sonic the Hedgehog. But the concept of the game with Sonic the Hedgehog was to get through the level of the game quickly and grab as many rings as possible. And you always hit these checkpoints in the middle of the actual course that you're on, in the middle of the level that you're on, you hit these checkpoints. But as you go from one checkpoint to the next, you're grabbing all these rings, you're grabbing all these rings. And I see our society a lot like that. It's go, 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 go. Grab some rings, grab this, grab what you need, but get to that checkpoint. Then you get to Monday. Then you got to go on to the next day. Then you're on Tuesday. Then you're on Wednesday. Then you got to pick the kids up. Then you got to do this. And thank God it's Friday. I finally get a chance to relax. I finally get a chance to do what I need to do. But you're still on go mode. When do we get a chance to slow down and process who we are? When we got to pump them brakes to figure out who and how we are. Many of us don't get that opportunity or that chance. And that's one of the things that stresses us out, keeps our cortisol levels sky high, keeps our anxiety sky high, keeps our mental process disoriented. We can't even logically think through things because we're just so overconsumed and overstimulated with all these things that are going on. So slowing down is very, 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 very important. Sometimes it's best to calm down and allow ourselves time to process. Many people don't feel like they have time to process anything, so they just keep going. One thing I learned about trauma in this trauma work that I do is that trauma makes everything about the moment. So when you are someone who lives in a lot of toxic stress, or you've been traumatized or been harmed in a situation or an event in your life, you're not really always thinking about, the future, or you're not thinking about legacy, or you're not thinking about consequences of your action. You're just thinking about, I need to feel good right now. I need this trauma to not be as painful as it is right now. So I'll do whatever I need to do right here, right now to feel good, no matter what that thing may be. And that thing might be something harmful, and that thing might be something dangerous. And that's what I am cautioning you to not be involved in. And by slowing down, you're able to better process and combat some of those negative things that you might do on an impulsive behavior when you're able to think. So slowing down is important for our self-awareness because it gives us time to process why we're feeling some type of way, what we're doing, and what we can do next. Which leads to this point, understanding your thoughts. Why do you feel some type of way? Why did I make that choice? Why am I making this decision? Why am I hurt by this? Why every time I see so-and-so, I want to cuss them out? Like, these are the things that we do. These are the things that happen to us. But why do we do these things? Why do they happen to us? And sometimes we have to literally pause and figure out, is it something that I need to, I need help with? You need to understand why you're thinking the way that you're thinking. So the way we choose to see life most of the time is based on the flow of our thoughts and our feelings. Our emotions are our emotions. They're going to happen. Your job is to figure out how to manage your emotions, not how to suppress them. Unfortunately, we've been put into a situation in society where we're supposed to put our emotions to the side, sweep them under the rug, and act like they ain't there. But they're going to happen, and they're going to affect you physically, spiritually, mentally, all those things. Even socially, sometimes your emotions are going to affect you. So it's very, very important that you are able to understand that your thoughts kind of come in emotion, your feelings come in a flow, and all those things happen. Your thoughts, emotions, and feelings come in a flow. All those things happen. But understand, why do you feel this way? Why do you get angry when you hear a certain pitch in someone's voice? Why does it upset you when you see people in your way? Like, why are you frustrated about that? Why do you hate when so-and-so says this or so-and-so does that? Why can't you stand people? It's important for you to understand that, because that gives you a clue inside yourself. That lets you know what's going on with you. Why does that pain you? Why does that hurt you? Why does that make you uncomfortable? Why does that give you dis-ease, right? So why does that make you uneasy? Those are important things for you to understand when you're actually going through your thoughts. Say, okay, why am I upset by this? Like, why does that piss me off so much? So our mental and emotional habits often distort our perceptions of what is happening in our outer world. Again, when you don't understand your thoughts and your emotions and they're just happening, sometimes you have a distortion of the perceptions of what is actually going on. I see this a lot. With people, right? They've had a bad experience. Let's say they had a bad experience with men. This happened to me. I'm going to give you a personal story. Let's just get personal. Me. I grew up in a domestic violence household. I thought my stepdad was my real dad till about turned close to 12 years old. And then I actually met my real dad for the first time on my 12th birthday. And that was significant to me because he showed up late and drunk for me to meet him. And he kind of let me down with that. And I remember thinking at 12 years old, I was just growing a little hair into my armpits, I had a little peach fuzz on my chin. And I was just like, man, I'm about to be a man. And I can't even depend on me. And I went from the dad who was the abuser, who abused my mother and slowly started to, physically abuse me as well, to the dad that's late to meet his son and drunk. Like, I was like, man, I can't trust men. Like, F them. Like, black men ain't got nothing for me. And I remember keeping that mentality all throughout middle school and high school, and even a little bit in college, where I was more comfortable around women. And it wasn't just because I was attracted to them. It was just because women got shit done. Like, just to be real, that's how I used to think. Like, if I need anything done, I just got to go through a female. Like, the women going to get it handled. I can't trust no men for nothing. And that would limited my understanding. That limited my ability to make friendships. That limited my ability to connect with other men socially. Like, I never joined a fraternity or any of that stuff because I just thought dudes were always on some BS. And that limited me. That kept me very limited, isolated. And also, I feel like it affected my masculinity development because I would not socialize with men to really understand how to be with men unless it was on a football field, because I was a football player. So if it wasn't in a football context, I wasn't going. And I was cool with that because of my experience. My thoughts and understandings, my feelings were disoriented, right? It distorted because of my life experience with two men that I thought were supposed to be my guides, that I thought were supposed to help me, but they didn't. So it's very important that we understand that our mental and emotional habits often distort our perceptions. So my mental emotional habit around men was they're fearful, they can't be trusted, they harm you, they take things from you, they give you pain. All those things were distorted. So I've seen all men, especially black men, in that way. And that's very dangerous thinking. So I encourage folks to be very aware of their thoughts and be aware of themselves so that they don't allow those same distortions to impact who and how they can be in this world. Speaking of distortions, here are a few distorted thoughts, right? There are actually 15 distortions. There's 15 distorted thoughts, but we're just going to talk about three. We're just going to, three is my number. I like to just do three things, right? Just to make sure that you can, you can digest this information and we can go deeper at another time. So let's talk about these three distorted thoughts. We have overgeneralization, we have blaming, and we have my favorite, the shoulda, woulda, couldas. The shoulda, woulda, couldas. So overgeneralization, when you are continuing to when you are coming to a conclusion based on a single incident or small piece of evidence. That was me. I had two dads, two men who were supposed to be my leaders as men in my life, who were inconsistent, who showed that they didn't care, who weren't there for me when I needed them. So I overgeneralized that all black men are like this. Can't trust them. F them. And I was also getting those same messages reinforced by the people I did trust, women in my life. Niggas ain't shit. That was something that I heard a lot. Excuse my language, but that's a real concept in our community. That's a real thing. And when we hear that, we say that, that does stuff to us cognitively, not just to our women and our little girls, but to us boys and our other men as well. We start to believe that same mentality. So I don't care about you if I feel like you're not shit. Overgeneralization is dangerous. Blaming. I did this too with the same example. I blame the men for all the things that they did, even though there were other influences in their behaviors, socially, relationally, family-wise, all these other things. But I couldn't see that context as an 11, 12-year-old boy. I just seen these men were bad. These men did not help me. These men were here to harm me and to bring me discomfort. But blaming is when you are accusing or holding other people accountable for your pain. It also can work in the other direction when you blame yourself for everything. That was me. So I said, it must be something about me why these men don't trust me. So I'm going to stay away from them because it's something about me they don't like. My dads don't care about me. What did I do to them? It'd probably be better if I just left, which I did. I left when I was 12 years old. Lived with my grandmother, middle school, all throughout middle school, 7th and 8th grade. Tried to go back home in 9th grade. Only lasted there a couple months into my 9th grade year. Before the Christmas, I was out of the house. I was gone. back to grandma, stayed with her all throughout high school. And I blame myself. I took that hard on myself that it was something about me that they didn't want to be my father. They didn't want to be the guide in my life. That blaming hurt. And I was dealing with depression most of my teenage years, not knowing it, overcompensating on other things like food, sex, just stuff that I shouldn't have been overcompensating with. I should have been enjoying my teenage years a lot more than I did, but still trying to fill those holes and those gaps. There a lot of self-blaming. And then the last one, shoulda, woulda, coulda. So in this position, we are often judging ourselves and attempting to find fault in the way things are, the way things are. And sorry, let me read that again. Messed that one up. So shoulda, woulda, coulda. In this position, we are often judging ourselves and attempting to find fault in why things are the way that they are. Again, then this. If I would have did this, maybe my dads would have responded to me different. I should have did that. I should have reached out. I should have just not said anything. We wouldn't be arguing. I should have did X, Y, and Z. If I would have, if I would actually scored a touchdown in my game, maybe he would love me more. These are the thoughts that go through a person's mind. Where we play the shoulda, woulda, coulda game to try to dictate an outcome, and that might not be actually what happens. So we have disrupted thought processes that take place when we are engaging in situations and traumas in the middle of our life. Those stresses are in the middle of our life. So without self-awareness, without understanding what these things are, you can actually make these things worse than they actually are. And the next thing, processing your emotions. As I stated earlier, your emotions are going to happen. What you do with those emotions is very important. Some of those emotions that we have are going to be uncomfortable. They're not going to feel good. Some of them are going to feel good, but you still got to process them, right? You still got to deal with them. You still got to understand what's happening with those emotions. So sometimes you have to sit in the uncomfortable emotions, that fear, that uncertainty, that discomfort, that anxiety, that pain. Sometimes you got to sit in that and process, what is this feeling? Why do I feel this way? How can I get out of it? Being pissed off, mad, and fed up are all good emotions, believe it or not. Now, we think when you're mad, you're angry, you're pissed off, you're fed up. But if and only if you have good self-control. So it's okay to be pissed off. It's okay to be mad. It's okay to be fed up. But without self-control, those emotions can lead to destruction. With self-control, those emotions can lead to revolution and action. Because when you are upset, you are ready. You are at that point, that boiling point, that breaking point of change. When you're there, that's when you start putting your butt in gear and getting into action. But you got to have good self-control in order for those things to happen. If you don't have good self-control, those things don't happen, and you stay in that misery and that frustration. And a lot of times what happens to people is they take it internally, and they start to do the self-blaming. They start doing the shoulda, woulda, couldas and the overgeneralizations like I did as a young boy. I did that because I didn't have the self-control at that point in time like I do now. So things that would have pissed me off, even 5 years ago, 6 years ago, don't piss me off anymore because I know who I am and how I need to navigate in this world to make sure that my outcomes are favorable for me as best as possible. So being pissed off, being mad, being fed up are all emotions that are good emotions for me because my self-care, my self-control, my self-awareness is all in a good place. And that's what I'm encouraging you to do, is get your self-control and your self-awareness in a good place. Your emotions should not dictate your actions. This is important. This should be a slide by itself. Your emotions should not dictate your actions. However, they should inform your actions. Logic should always lead your actions. The way that I try to get, when I work with somebody, the way that I try to get them to understand this is your emotions is like the gas of your car, right? If you have a vehicle, emotions is the gas. It should get you to point A to point B. but your logic is the engine. Your logic is that core piece of machinery that's pushing you to the next level, that's pushing you through. You can have a car that's filled with gas and stuck in a ditch. But if you have the right terrain and the right engine, you can get out of that ditch with the right engine. Now, you try to do that in a little Ford Focus, you might not be able to get out that ditch because you ain't got the engine power to get out of that ditch. But if you do that thing in a 4x4 truck, chances are you might get up out of that ditch because the engine is built tough. It's built to get you out of those situations. That's the same way your logic needs to be built tough, built to get you out of those tough situations, those tough places. And your emotions, the gas, because if you ain't got no gas, you ain't getting out that end. You ain't getting out of there. So, and your emotions are going to be there, right? You can't suppress them. You can attempt to, but they're gonna show up. They're gonna show up in one way or another. So having that mental control, that mindset control is going to be important, because that self-control, that self-awareness is what's going to help you dictate how far you can go with that gas in that engine. Does that make some sense? So your emotions should not dictate your actions. However, they should inform your actions. Logic should always lead your actions. That's how you process your emotions. What's the most reasonable outcome for the situation? How do you get from point A to point B? And how are you going to maintain after you feel some type of way? How are you going to maintain your thought process after you feel some type of way? So that was a quick crash course. One thing that I want to leave you with is another quote of mine. In a world where everything is smart, all you have to do is be wise. In a world where everything is smart, we got a smart refrigerator, smartphones, smart watches, smart TVs, smart life, smart kids, smart world. In a world where everything is smart, all you have to do is be wise. Use your mind. You got that melon, you got that intellect, you got that process to overcome and to be and move beyond any obstacle in your way. You have that ability, but you have to take control of that ability. That self-awareness is key. That empowerment piece is key. Self-mastery is something that is in your life, that is there. It's already there, but you have to own it. You have to master and champion it. You can't just let it sit and fester, because it won't show up in the ways that it needs to without it. We see this all the time in our community, where we see people reach, their pinnacle, or we see people get to a point of excellence, but they have to have their mindset right, or they will fall quicker than they actually got there. You have that ability as well. But I want you to be wise in a world where everything is smart. If you're still looking for some assistance, if anything that I said connected with you, this is your opportunity to connect with me, the Jegna Institute. The Jegna Institute is where I have boot camps, I have crash courses, I have other learning material for you to access, including audiobooks at the Jegna Institute. I definitely recommend that you connect with me there to get some information. If you're trying to figure out how to get there, go to jegna.org. It gets you right to the Jegna Institute. One of the other things that I have for you that you can get today and start your healing journey at this moment, start your journey to self-mastery at this moment, is the audiobook Level Elite Personal Revolution Through Self-Development. And SELF is an acronym for Survival, Education, Legacy, and Future. This is what you need to keep moving forward. Healing is a journey, and so is self-mastery. I'm here to be a resource to you. I'm here to keep helping develop us, push our people, places, and things, and advance our culture as best as possible. I'm Brandon Jones, professor, psychotherapist, and author, and I look forward to seeing you later at the Jegna Institute. Peace.